Hey everybody, welcome back to the Danger Planet. I'm Brandon. Today I'm joined by Doug. Doug, say hello.
Hello?
Today we're talking about the Jedi Hunters squad pack for Star Wars Shatterpoint. Doug, make a pow on noise.
That's a lightsaber. I don't know what a Padawan is.
Oh, that's what the Grand Inquisitor is.
Oh.
We did it. Yeah. There are no Powan of note, with the exception of the Grand Inquisitor, and also like a few other ones, and probably one of the biggest Sith Lords that's ever happened. But it's fine.
So is
Um,
what you're saying is you set me up with a trap?
I might have. It's hard to tell.
Mm.
No. Well, traps or no traps, let's talk about the first lad in this pack.
The Grand Inquisitor?
The Grand Inquisitor, Fallen Jedi. So we have a new primary unit. His name is Grand Inquisitor. He is an 8 squad point lad who has 3 force points to come with, and he's got some really neat abilities. He has he has a tactic where at the start of this unit's activation, you get to choose an allied Inquisitorious secondary character or an allied Inquisitorious supporting character. One character in the unit and the chosen character in this unit and the chosen character may dash. So right at the start of his activation, he's always getting a dash, and he lets somebody else dash as well, which is a thing that we've seen before. His activated ability, though, Secrets Uncovered, is wild and completely new to the game. So for 2 force points, you can choose any active objective within range 5 that's controlled by an opposing player. You remove their control.
Very good.
Wild.
Insane.
Wild stuff. And we'll talk about how viable and how awesome that is in many ways, but first let's cover up his last 2 bits. So he's got a reactive ability called the Temple Records Are Quite Complete. For 1 force, when a character in this unit is targeted with a melee attack by an enemy force user, this unit may use this ability. It may flip its stance card, and the defender adds 2 dice to the defense roll, which is very, very cool. So he's super, super flexible, and when he gets hit by a Jedi or another Force user, he's super better. And then his identity ability, clearly, you were a poor student. When an allied Inquisitorious character wounds an enemy unit, after the effect is resolved, 1 allied Inquisitorious character may heal 2. Then if the wounded unit was a Force user, refresh 2 Force. It is worth noting for this and every other guy who talks about Inquisitorious that the new Darth Vader model, which you may have seen our video on already, has the Inquisitorious keyword, which means that he will trigger all of these things except for the secondary or support one.
Yeah, and that probably most Vaders moving forward, like the other iterations of Vader, because we know a second iteration is already coming, right? Yeah. Those are probably all going to be Inquisitorious as well. So this guy has a lot of forward-facing synergy.
Yes, he does. Wow, what a guy. Secrets Uncovered. It's
insane.
It's such wild. A cool ability.
Yeah, that's like that ability is probably the one that I've seen so far that I just am the most excited to try.
Yeah.
This looks so awesome.
And
so powerful.
You can just straight up deny your opponent objectives that they controlled, that they took and ran away from, because 5 range is a lot of distance. Right. So halfway up the board, you can hit most of the objectives, right? Not only that, but if you have any amount of pushing ability, when you activate this, you're going to run. You can run up to an objective, eat a guy off of it, call it a day. There's so much to do with just being able to interact with objectives this way. Oh my gosh, can't
really powerful.
Can't say enough.
It's the first true ability that we've seen that just openly shuts down objective priority of an opponent's. It's like that's just what the ability does. Man, is it cool and powerful. And that's like because a 5 distance in this game is over 6 inches, right? It's like somewhere between 7 to 8 inches, isn't it?
Yeah, the 5 ruler is 10 inches, I believe.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's a huge distance, especially considering that verticality in this game is kind of pancaked. So, like, one of the use cases that I see is, like, let's say an opponent, like, kind of overexposed a unit to go out and try to cap a level 3 height objective, and they did it, like, in an early activation or something, you push that guy off or whatever. You go and you stand under it, and then you turn the objective control off or something. Like there's so many different ways that you can combine this to just absolutely house your opponent without much interaction with them. Like the thing that I like is that this isn't necessarily requiring you to make any types of rolls. You're just spending force to shut down objective priority, which is crazy.
It's good. The Secrets Uncovered is a wild ability. It's a little expensive, but very, very wild ability.
I mean, it's in line with what we're seeing them designate as this is a powerful thing, right? Like we've seen a couple of other 2 proc force abilities, and the majority of them have been powerful, right?
Yeah. And I will say, for a primary character, he's got basically the same stats health-wise as Asajj Ventress. So he has 9 health, 9 stamina, 3 durability, which, like, not great, but, he's pretty defensive. Plus, he has that bonus if you're attacking him with the Force users, which tend to be the harder-hitting guys anyway.
His specialty track, I mean, you want to just go to his card? You want to talk about...
Well, the last thing I just wanted to say was, so clearly you were a poor student. Also, if you're playing Darth Vader and the Grand Inquisitor as your 2 primary characters, is super, super strong. Because it gives Darth Vader the ability to heal after he wounds stuff, which is basically a thing that he's not going to do elsewise. Because he just gets to heal too, because he's an allied Inquisitorious character. Wild stuff. But yeah, his tracks aren't bad. They certainly have some stuff going on.
Well, the biggest thing that stands out to me that is kind of a piggyback on the statement you just made is I think a lot of the time what you're going to be doing is having this guy in Form 5 Demso, specifically because his specialty defensive track there is absolutely nuts. Yeah. Like, if you look at that guy's adaptive fighter track on 1 through 2 or 3, that's a lot of things it does.
Yeah,
and
like normal dudes are basically just going to be hitting him at the same sort of velocity, but he is so teched to be able to just ignore primary characters. At 4+, he gets a block, and you lose 2 crits, and he gets to jump. Wild.
I mean, even at 3, it's good, and it's the same thing that we've talked about before. I think the floor of that is very strong still. It just so happens the ceiling of it is also crazy. Plus, on top of that, he's rolling 6 defense die, where if you can hunker him, you can put any type of defense and get him up to maybe like 7 dice. I mean, this guy's going to be hard to, short of running like a primary damage dealer right into his face and trying to chop him to putty, it's going to be relatively hard to move this guy without a committed give a fuck,
Yeah. It's also super worth noting that he is, I think, to date, the only primary character that has a ranged and melee attack on both sides of his card.
Yeah, so it's more versatility there for him. And his ranged attack on Form 5 isn't great, but it's there. And even on Form 2, it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's a little better.
But he's very balanced. It's balanced, but he's also defensible. I think the most value you get out of this guy is putting him up in a place where Secrets Uncovered can be incredibly, incredibly impactful to the board, and making sure that he, clearly you are a poor student, something that matters to get extra damage procs out of it. Yeah. And I feel like as long as he's doing those 2 things and maybe babysitting an objective and throwing lightsabers around, you're probably getting good value out of this guy.
Yep. And if you have, if you build him in a way that you have any way to buff him in terms of his attack dice, you'll be in really good shape. Because with Form 5, if he gets to 6, he gets to basically just cancel one of your opponent's objectives for free. Secrets Uncovered for free is insane. But you're going to need a lot to get there because he doesn't have super, super great expertise. And at base 6 dice, which you're getting to 7 with the focus, he's going to struggle to get to the end of his track in Form 5. Too much. He has a little easier time in Form 2, I think, because he's up 1 die and his expertise puts a crit in early, and 2 crits in at 2, plus damage for free, which is pretty good.
Third sister.
Oh my gosh. Well, enough about Mr. Grand, because he has his secondary unit that he comes with, Ms. Third. Her third sister is a 4-point secondary unit who has a plethora of abilities and is also, of course, Inquisitorious. So 2 activated abilities. We have Call the Hunt, which is for 1 force, choose an allied Inquisitorious supporting character within range 4. The chosen character may dash or make a 5 dice attack. And we have Force Jump, which we've seen numerous times. For 1 force, character in this unit may jump. She also has Deflect, which is typically just a Jedi thing, which is pretty cool. So after a ranged attack targeting has any misses targeting her, that unit just takes 2 damage back. And then lastly, she has 1 new reactive ability called Your Fear Betrays You for 1 force. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm alive.
Oh, wow. Your Fear Betrays You for 1 force. When a character in this unit makes a melee attack as part of a combat action before dice are rolled, it may use this ability, remove 1 or more conditions from the defender, and get 2 extra dice for every condition that was removed. And it is worth noting an ability that we'll talk about later with some of the supporting units in this box. Staples on conditions. So, your Fear Betrays You is super, super helpful for buffing out her damage output for sure. And pretty
Yeah, you
health and durability 8 and 2 for secondary units, like pretty above board.
Yeah, I think it's worth tipping the hat on this one just for a little bit of context. Effectively, both the fourth and the fifth are able to stack lots of different types of conditions, and so you can throw the third sister in there and then get a proc off that as like a finishing hit. I'm assuming that's kind of what you're alluding to, right, Brandon?
Yeah, basically. Yep.
Yeah.
And so
I'm also becoming a big fan of force jump just in general to have in a kit. Um, or if it's not a force jump, something that allows me to pay like 1 force for a jump action. I found that to be really valuable when you're manipulating where you are at from a level perspective in the game state and
yeah,
not really having to worry about the positions of ladders. So when in our mall video, actually, I called this out very quickly. I was like, I wish he had like a force jump ability, right? Because or sorry, not Maul, Darth Vader. I wish
right.
he had a force jump ability, but he doesn't. He just has a move. But like force jump abilities allow you to extend with a move, then force jump up like 3 flights or something, and like cap an early objective, and then still having a ton of flexibility from there, right? Which is why I look for those in kits at this point.
Yeah. And like looking at her card, right? She has seven flat melee dice, no ranged attack. Not great defense, but like a single expertise gives you 2 blocks, so that's not even bad. Plus, as a secondary unit, she can, if she gets massive defense, she can cancel a crit. But her damage output is going to be pretty strong because she's rolling 7 dice base, probably more than that. And she has an initial damage shove, which is super strong, moving into like pretty easily some combinations, 2 more shoves and a jump if you get to the end of her track. And she can put out 7 damage without too much work. Or
Uh,
exposed. There's all kinds of stuff. Plus, her expertise gives her damage. She has baked in crits at 3. Um,
I
yeah,
think the big thing to understand about this character is that when you're trying to really put a model down, normally she should be rolling between 9 to 10 dice because you should be setting up your target with like either fourth or fifth for third sister, and then she'll be able to strip a condition, and her 7 will immediately go to a 9, and then if you have focus, it's 10. So like she's capable of doing like big individualized swings that have synergy based on what the rest of her box is trying to do inherently. When we look at fourth and fifth's track, you're going to see that they give out conditions like candy,
yeah. Yeah.
basically.
And looking at what she's doing, with her force jump, if you can get a little bit behind somebody, even if she can't cap them, you have 3 pushes. You can 3 pushes is an insane amount of damage. It's their base, plus 3 inches. 3 it's 120 millimeters and 3 inches, which is it's just wild. It's a whole bunch of displacement. It's a whole bunch of damage. And she's just super, super strong.
I agree. And it's nice to see that she has an enable mechanic from fourth and fifth. So I
Yeah.
guess we can.
Yeah, let's talk about fourth. We have another interesting sort of new concept to Star Wars Shatterpoint with fourth and fifth, fourth sister, fifth brother. So these 2 supporting units are single model supporting units. They don't come to a supporting unit. They're named characters, so you can only take each one once, just like you normally do with units, but they just are by themselves. luckily they do have an ability to make up for that. But for 4 points, you can take Fourth Sister. She has Force Jump and Force Pull, which we've seen before. Force Jump just gives her a jump for a Force point, and Force Pull for a Force point. She can target an enemy character within 3 and pull them 2 towards her, which is exactly the same as Maul's Force Pull ability. The Enfeeble reactive ability that we talked about earlier is present here. She has Enfeeble pinned. So whenever a character in another allied Inquisitorius unit makes an attack as part of a combat action, before dice are rolled, this unit may use this ability. If the target character is within 4 of this unit, the target gains pinned, which realistically is almost exactly an analog of the Republic Troopers. What's it called? Shit. Do you remember what it's called of the Republic Troopers ability?
Yeah, I have it. I actually have the card right in front of me because I was using it for painting guide. It is
concentrated fire, collective, covering fire.
I'm looking at Cody's card. Sorry, let me just get the 212.
Oh, yeah.
Coordinated fire.
Coordinated fire. Thank you. Yeah, so it's basically just a direct analog of coordinated fire, except it only affects a very, very narrow band of things, which is basically just Darth Vader in this box so far. But anything that's Inquisitorious. We'll see a similar ability on Fifth Brother. But then Fourth Sister also has 2 other abilities. So Swift Retreat is her sort of special one, which is when this unit's wounded by an enemy effect, after the effect resolved, one character in this unit may reposition. So if she does take a wound, she gets to move around, which is pretty nice. And then the one that is really interesting is when determining control of an active ability that a character in this unit is and then the one that's really interesting, Inquisitorial Mandate. When determining control of an active objective that a character in this unit is contesting, if there's a tie, this unit's controlling player takes control of the objective, which sort of offsets the fact that for 4 points for a supporting unit, you only get 1 model, right?
This is what you need to make sure that you're using correctly to not fall behind on like model equity. When you have like Fourth Sister, right? Because Fourth Sister is 1 model, where other folks are going to usually be getting 2 models. But this is what breaks that parity. This is a very clever design mechanic by them, where like if you can really leverage this, you can get a lot of good value out of Fourth Sister because the rest of her kit is like insanely good for a supporting unit.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to understand how and when to leverage this ability to make her effectively count as 2 models instead of 1, so you don't fall behind on board equity or model equity.
And I think there's a lot to be said for Shatterpoint's activation system, where I alternating activations, I activate, you activate. Taking a supporting unit that has just 1 model and it doesn't affect that at all because you're still activating, it's still your turn, you still do stuff, but you are getting less bodies for sure, which means you can't spread them apart to contest multiple objectives. But this does sort of give you the leverage while having a better unit to be able to interact with 1 at the same sort of parity.
Right. That's the secret sauce that you've got to learn to use really well to be very effective with this model.
Yeah. And if you take a look at her stance card, she is only melee 7 dice, 6 and 5, so she's got real good defense. And two different starting options. Both are damage. One's a shove, one is a disarmed, and then you move right into pinned, which presumably you're gonna want to put on people anyway, so that when other people take advantage of her ability, they'll put a damage on them. And then she gets to use one of her abilities for free at 4 points in. If you get to the end, she's got 3 more damage. So like she can put out a lot of damage. She's got crits automatically at 1 die. She's getting a crit and a damage at one expertise. She's getting a single block at 1 expertise. So overall, I think like this might be just the best expertise and stats on a supporting unit, which really sort of makes the decision to take a 1 model supporting unit, I think, more worth it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We're gonna look at Fifth Brother in a second here, and his track is gonna be similar. I think the thing to point out, not just with Fourth but also with Fifth, is that when I'm looking at this track, I'm trying to get to 4. That's what I care about. I want to proc one of those Force abilities for free. The 3 damage at the end was nice, but I feel like more often than not, I'm going to be in a position where I'm really looking to force pull something or force jump with her, or if I'm using fifth, use his repulsion ability, basically. In my mind, that's kind of what. And you make a good point too about the expertise tracks. Again, her spinning lightsaber has a very, very decent floor. The ceiling is okay, but I tend to look at these things in terms of how good is the floor, not the ceiling, because quite frankly, you're going to be experiencing the floor a lot more than you are the ceiling. So you better get used to that floor, at least in my life. I don't know if you guys roll better than me, let us know in the comments, I guess. But and then she's got reasonable defense. And she's one of the few force using characters that actually has pretty decent blaster defense for, 6 is not bad. For range defense.
I think it's fine. And then that brings us to the other supporting unit in this box, which is a weird thing to say. We have Fifth Brother, who is a 4-point supporting unit. He has 2 activated abilities, just like his fourth sister. He has Force Jump, but his unique one is Force Repulse. So for 2 Force, he can choose a character in this unit, push each other character within 2 of the chosen character 2 away from it, which, oh boy. We'll talk about that in a minute, but wow. He has Enfeeble just like Fourth Sister does, but his Enfeeble is on Exposed. So when an allied Inquisitorius unit attacks, and it just like the Concentrated Fire from the Imperial side, or from the Galactic Republic side, you do have to do your physical action as combat. You can't like proc it off of an additional attack given because you like got wounded or something. But it'll give them Exposed if they're within 4 of this guy. He has Inquisitorial Mandate, so he'll tie objectives just like Fourth Sister. And then he also has Resolve. So while he's contesting 1 or more active objectives, he has Protection and Steadfast. Protection means he takes 1 less damage from damage pools. Steadfast means he ignores the first move portion of the first shove that he receives each combat. 9 health, so a little bit more stamina, and 2 durability, which is great. But oh boy, Force Repulse. It says each other character, which means it hits allies, which is fine, but you can just choose to push them nowhere. And then each character. So because he automatically contests objectives that takes objectives that he's controlling, you can literally run him onto any objective in the game and almost certainly guaranteed take it for 2 force.
And the other crazy thing is, it gets to be a very expensive force proposition, but he could basically go like move, force jump, like up to anywhere on the map as long as he can move, right? And he's also can get some other free move shenanigans probably within his team, and then just force repulse everything off of it and just auto take it, right?
Yeah,
like it's
for 3 force points, you can advance and force jump. So you'll get his base 1, 2, 3 times the big measurement tool, the small measurement tool, and then if you're within 2 of an objective, you should be able to blow everybody else off of it and then just take an objective. Wildly strong ability.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. It's 2, right? So now we actually have a comparison. We have a power analog for this in his own box, right? And you start to ask yourself, okay, well, I have Fifth Brother, and Force Repulse is really freaking good, but you know what also costs 2? What's it called? Secrets Uncovered.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to be running Grand Inquisitor, right? If you're running this guy, and you're not going to have enough force to use all of these crazy tricks. You're just going to have to, as the player, set your pieces up in a way where if you need to, you can flip into that spicy style activation. But if you don't need to, and it's easier to just like hang out with Grand Inquisitor anywhere in the middle of the map and just control everything with Secrets Uncovered, I think that's going to be one of the playstyle decisions that players that are bringing models from this box are going to have to think a lot about, because there's a lot of force hungry abilities coming from, the Inquisitor and 3rd and 4th and 5th.
Yeah, it is worth noting, looking at his stance card, though. If you can get him into melee range with a low defense unit, you can proc it automatically off of his chart. So he, just like Fourth Sister, he has basically the same deal on the expertise. He gets an auto crit at any expertise, 7 dice. Although he's got a little bit more melee defense versus range defense. But 4 points into his damage tree, he has activating ability for free, which could very easily be Force Repulse. He's got the same damage layout. Their charts are identical with the exception of instead of disarmed and pinned, it's exposed and strained. But other than that, they're the exact same damage calculation. It's just that Fifth Brother has the spiciest activated ability known to man.
I also think it's notable that he on a first track puts an exposure out. That's like really powerful to a single expose. Like immediately your first thing is a damage and an exposure, because exposure tokens can really, really fuck over certain characters.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, expertise on defense, I think, is a pretty wild one, and being able to shut that down right away is nuts.
Yeah. This is gonna be a fun box. There's a lot of play to this box, and there's a lot of resource management decisions that have to happen with this box.
Yeah, there are. And all the models in the box are super cool. They're really neat poses. They got a lot going on. So if you're struggling on how to build them or what you need to do to get them up and painted and on the table, check out the Goonhammer article that we'll link below, because they're gonna have their painting series up about at some point, I guess. And you should be checking them out anyway, because they're one of the best resources for any sort of wargaming that exists on the internet, let alone Star Wars Shatterpoint. But 40K, all those good stuff, Malifaux, that sort of thing. Definitely check out our Discord too if you want to see what we're up to or how well we've been using these Inquisitors in games lately. And I think other than that, thanks for keeping an eye on the planet. Make sure you continue to do so. Like and subscribe. You got anything else, Doug?
You should try to eat an apple a day. It keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, and also it keeps the Inquisitorius away.
No, that doesn't happen. They come and kill you no matter what.
Oh no!
Oh no! It's the worst.
All right, we did it.